Gentlemen, here we are at this near start of the end of the week / start of the new week in terms of college football. Sorry about the late video with all the fun Halloween festivities. I just haven't had a chance, but tonight's as good a night as any. I got a fun cocktail for us all to enjoy and a handful of questions to answer. So let's get started right off the bat with the cocktail of the week, shall we? So the cocktail this week is called the Rosita. I mentioned earlier to get your tequila ready. This is a really cool drink, and the reason is when you look at the ingredients. If I were to take the tequila out and list all the other ingredients first, Campari, sweet vermouth, dry vermouth, and a splash of bitters, and then ask you what like main spirit would be in that cocktail, a person would probably think whiskey, maybe bourbon, rye, something like that. Maybe gin, gin and Campari can go together well. But I think tequila would not be the first thing to come to your mind. And I think that's what's neat about this cocktail, because it's so easy to put tequila in a very specific kind of cocktail corner. The same way that you can put rum into like a tiki corner, even though there's plenty of really great rum cocktails that aren't tiki based. It's easy to take tequila and kind of put it in those, those like margarita style, Mexican firing squad, tequila sunrise type cocktails and stuff. And this is more of like golden age of cocktail era kind of cocktail that you might find in a bar, in the 30s or something, before some of the fancier stuff got added in. So. And it's also delicious, which is always the primary objective of a good cocktail, in my opinion. So let's get started with the ingredients. First, we'll start with a dash of some nice Angostura bitters. You guys might notice, I always use my own homemade Angostura bitters, and this is the same bottle I've been using all year, and it's barely put a dent in it, even though I make quite a few cocktails. So if you ever have thought about making your own bitters, it is really cost efficient when you see how expensive bitters tend to be. Because and this is, I think I have 2 more bottles of this, because when you make it, you make a pretty large quantity. So especially if you like some of those Trinidad sours and stuff, where you really use a lot of bitters. So, and now we're going to use half an ounce of dry vermouth. If you recall from I don't know if I mentioned this actually. No, I can't remember my own videos and stuff. But back when I made the Beretta de Notte and I was talking about Manhattans, because that Beretta de Notte was kind of an inverse Manhattan. Something about a Manhattan, which is, typically whiskey and sweet vermouth, is if you want it, when you have a drink that has equal parts sweet and dry vermouth, it's called a perfect cocktail. So if you ask for a perfect Manhattan at a bar, that's what it would mean, is you want a Manhattan made with equal parts dry and sweet vermouth. And this drink has equal parts, another half ounce of the sweet vermouth, equal parts dry and sweet vermouth. So technically it's a Rosita, but it's a perfect Rosita, which is kind of fun. And then 1 full ounce of Campari or whatever Amaro you use. I do think when you make a tequila, if you're adding any sort of Amaro to a tequila cocktail, it's good to have a pretty strong one, not one of the more mild ones, which is why like this recipe has Campari, but I'm using a Verna Amaro, which is a little more mild than Campari, but it's got kind of an orange base, which I think goes well with tequila. But anything you got, obviously, like as I've talked about with Amaro, whatever you got, you can use. But a lot of times when you're using a spirit like tequila that has a very specific flavor and a very strong flavor, it's good to have something that kind of can match up to it. So you use a stronger Amaro, that way it doesn't kind of get lost in it all. And then to top it all off, 1.5 ounces of tequila. Always fun. This could be a good opportunity while I'm doing this. Nick asked me to talk about some like bar tools, equipment, cocktail equipment to order. And so I can get into that real quick before I go get my ice and everything. My opinion on like cocktail or bar like tools and things is that if you're getting into cocktail making and stuff, I think it's best to save as much money as you can to put towards the bottles of alcohol, because you want to be able to get good quality spirits and things like that. So you don't really have to like go out and splurge on like, you know, $100 sets of, you know, jiggers and strainers and things. There's a few things that you do want to spend a little bit more money on, but when it comes to a jigger, which is of course the measuring tool, a lot of the typical ones you get, like this one here from Williams-Sonoma, one side is 1 ounce, and there's a line in there that shows ½ ounce, and then the other side is 1.5 ounces, and a line that shows 3/4 ounce. I prefer, and you'll find these at the bar more, are ones where one side is 1 full ounce and the other side is 2 full ounces. And the 1 ounce side has demarcation lines for a 1/4 ounce, ½ ounce, 3/4 ounce, and the 2 ounce side has a 1.5 ounce line. It's just easier when you're, you know, like this cocktail has 2 ½ ounce things and an ounce thing and an 1.5 ounce thing, and sometimes you have like 1/4 ounce and or 3/4 ounce, you know, all that stuff. And I feel like this just does the job. Also, sometimes you'll see fancy ones that have like the handles on them and stuff. I hate those. I don't think those are really anytime you're like adding things to holding something that you're trying to like measure the exact amount and pour it out and stuff, that just makes it worse, I think. I recommend, I mean, whatever you want, obviously, what you're comfortable with, but I recommend the kind that you hold yourself. I think like at bartending school, they like teach you to hold it like just on like 2 or 3 fingers to make it easier to pour or something. I don't know. That's what I've seen bartenders do. But you don't have to like spend a lot of money on this. You can go to Target and get one of these, you know. It's not really that important, I don't think. It's just measuring. And the same point with the rest of this, like your typical strainers, Hawthorne strainers, what this is called, and I don't know, this is just like a straining spoon or whatever. Again, you can get these at Target for pretty cheap, and they do the job. You don't have to like spend a whole bunch of money. Mixing spoon, you know, you can make do with a butter knife or just a regular spoon, obviously. The thing I like about a spoon like this for mixing is it does a really good job. So when you're mixing a cocktail in ice, it's like you're doing it like 30% of the reason you do it is to mix the things together, and like 70% is to really chill the cocktail before you pour it into a glass, which is why it's really important to get that ice kind of churned around and just like constantly moving and making contact with everything in there to really chill it up. And these spoons, the way they're designed with the little twist on them and stuff, just do a really good job of really getting it all mixed up in there and stuff. So I do recommend actually getting a real mixing spoon. As for shakers, for when you're making shake drinks, you got like a Boston shaker, which is one I use a lot. Just because it's pretty easy to use. It's very simple, but they tend to be a little smaller. I usually use this if I'm just making one drink. And so the thing that you'll see most professional bartenders use is the 2-piece strainer set, which again, I'm sure there's an actual name for it, I just don't know it. We got one bigger and one smaller. It's a lot easier for making, for really stirring or mixing up cocktails and stuff, like multiple quantity, like double cocktails or triple or quadruple. And again, all that stuff you can just get at Target. Like it's really not, you don't have to drop a lot of money on that kind of stuff. For stirred cocktails though, you know, I used to just use one of these to stir my cocktails, and maybe people do, and that's fine. But I do recommend getting like an actual mixing glass for cocktails. And this is something that might cost a little bit more money, especially if you kind of get like a good crystal one or something. Williams-Sonoma sells good ones. Whiskey.com, I think, is a website that has a lot that are a little bit more moderately priced, but they're still pretty good. The reason a mixing glass is good is because it's got an incredibly heavy base and it's a lot wider than the tin or steel shaking cups. So when you're actually doing the stirring and stuff, you know, if you're using one of these like kind of tall, top heavy things, it can be really easy to like spin it, knock it over and stuff when it's top heavy and stuff. Whereas with this thing, you're not gonna knock this over. You're just not gonna. So you don't have to like sit there and hold it if you want to. You can just kind of offhandedly stir and stuff. I think it does make a big difference. So that's something I would spend a little bit of money on, really. Other than that, you know, a good peeler is cheap. This is from Switzerland, Kuhn Rikon Y style peeler. You can get like a 3-pack for $10 or something online. I think these are really good for getting a good peel off of your citrus without getting too much of that pith. That's real bitter. And that's pretty much all you really need. And then, of course, glassware. I got this set at Williams-Sonoma a while ago. It's got like the gold rim and stuff. It's kind of nice, but I actually think the best place to go if you're going to get like barware, glasses and stuff are like thrift stores. Not like Goodwill necessarily, but like maybe some local smaller ones or what is it, the Swiss Army or no, Salvation Army. They have a lot of good like furniture and glasses and stuff, and you can really find some really cool like throwback 70s glasses, like cocktail glasses and things in really good condition, and they're dirt cheap and they look cool and they're, you know, heavy duty, like real sturdy old stuff. So that's what I would recommend for that. So all right, I'm gonna go get some ice and I'll be right back. And I'm back. One last thing I was going to mention about barware and cocktail things. If you don't have one already, you can get a mold to make the really large ice cubes, like mega cubes. You can do the like really big ice balls too. I just prefer the big cubes. I definitely recommend getting those. It can be kind of a pain to keep them filled and not forget. And, you know, it's a bummer when you go into the freezer to get a big cube for a cocktail and it's just empty because you forgot to fill it or whatever, but it's really worthwhile, I think. And I don't know, not only does it look nice, but it melts a lot slower, so you're not going to get like a watered down cocktail if you're sipping on it for a while and stuff. So I do recommend that. All right, let's stir this up. All right, Eric Payton, you guys might know him. I believe he's my opponent this week. Had a question. He wanted to know that if we were in a world where only our league members are on ballot for the presidential election, and I had to vote for 2 people, president, vice president, who would I vote for and why? So, you know, I for a second I kind of thought about this a little bit, and then I just kind of realized, like, I'll vote for me as president right off the bat. I probably wouldn't be the best choice out of everyone in our league, far from the most educated. But if I'm going to vote for somebody, I'm going to vote for like a hardcore progressive person, like a bomb-throwing Bolshevik, and that's me. So I'm president, motherfuckers, or at least I'm voting for that. And for vice president, I'd probably pick BK just because I think he's the most. I don't know everyone's politics and stuff, and it's not that important, but he seems like he might be the most progressive person, or maybe I just know more about his feelings. Even if he's not that progressive, you know, he's got an analytic robot mind on him. You know, that's a good thing to have as a vice presidential candidate. You know, somebody who can help you with some of the fancy numbers and things that I wouldn't be very good at, because that's not how I work. So there you go. Meyer Kerr, 2028. All right, so we'll finish this cocktail off with a nice fancy lemon peel. Oh yeah, express those oils. And that is a Rosalita. And it's a fantastic cocktail. Recommend you gentlemen enjoy this weekend for sure. All right, a couple more questions real quick. Brian wants to know, first, he once again mentioned that he loves me and he hopes that I win by 1,000 this week. I mean, that's 2 weekends in a row. He's really pulling for me. I appreciate that, Brian. But he does want to know, when traveling outside the U.S., any go-to cocktail ordering strategies. So the two things that I would really go with when you're traveling out of the country. First, there are a handful of cocktails that are kind of oriented towards specific spirits that might be good for where you're traveling. Like if you're in Scotland, it might be good to get a Rob Roy, which is basically a Manhattan but with Scotch whiskey. If you're in Ireland, you can get a Blackthorn, which is an Irish whiskey cocktail. And there's plenty of other different ones that I can't think of off the top of my head, but you can look this kind of stuff up. Like a Negroni was created in Italy. Like that's, if you're in Italy, you should maybe find a place for the Negroni because they probably make a really good one. Martini, like a gin martini in Britain, because gin is like their thing. Just little things like that. Maybe if you're traveling to a specific country, you can look up kind of like what a big spirit in that area is and what kind of cocktails made with that is. And then the other thing is try cocktails that have things in them that you don't know about, you're not used to. This is obviously, I wasn't traveling, but if you've ever had yuzu before, Y-U-Z-U, it's this kind of fruity rice spirit. I don't know if it's Vietnamese or Korean, Chinese, I'm not sure. But I went to a restaurant that kind of was an Asian focused restaurant, and they specialized in like Asian kind of cocktails, and they had one with yuzu and it was really good. I never had it before. So I would recommend that for sure, is going to one of those, just like you would research any sort of food or something in a country you're going to. Maybe just look at what kind of spirits, if you're going to Japan, they've gotten really into whiskey, so maybe they have very specific whiskey cocktails that you really like. You want to try with a Japanese whiskey, or you want to try with, a rice wine cocktail or something when you're in Asia. Like a really good vodka martini if you're going to the Eastern European countries and stuff. There's always a thing that's just like with food, there's something that is based on climate and stuff that certain countries just kind of specialize in. So that's what I would recommend for that. And then last but not least, old Brooks. First, he asks what my predictions are for him and Nick playing glow disc golf tonight. Interesting. It'll probably be over by the time you read this. I know the last time that I played any sort of frisbee-related things in the dark with Nick, at least one, maybe two different people got bloody lips from catching a disc in the face. So I'm going to predict that somebody catches a disc in the face. And Nick wins. Question number 2, what would your dream college football game to attend in person be? This is silly, and I'm sure people here have been to one of these games, and it's probably not the most fun game necessarily, but for whatever, I don't know if it's just like a stupid, like weird, like dregs of military in me, but I think Army Navy would be a really, really fun game to go to. Like I've watched that quite a few times every year, or not a few times every year, but every year I watch it for the last few years is what I'm trying to say. And it just seems like a really, like, truly competitive, weird game. They're teams that don't really play traditional style, or I guess they play super traditional styles of like offense and defense compared to modern football strategies. So I think that would be just, I don't know, it'd be a lot of fun, and it's just such a fierce rivalry and stuff. I just think it'd be cool, a lot of cool stuff going on there. So, and then the last question: ideal liquored up championship matchup that doesn't involve myself. So we could get like a Nick versus EP type, like, I don't even know if that's possible, type like Dodgers, Yankees, like the World Series, only it's the top guys from this year. Or we can get like the super, like Cleveland versus San Diego, which would have been a great World Series if that had happened. And there I'm thinking of some underdogs, like maybe Pat pulls through to the championship, and I don't know who else is me, except for it doesn't involve me, I guess. point is I think Pat in there would be fun. I think I would like that. I would like to read the kind of fun messages that Pat would be spewing out as he chewed his nails down to nubs. I guess maybe him versus Nick, just because that's kind of a big rivalry anyway. Maybe him and Brian, you know, maybe like a lawn bowl supersized edition would be fun. Something like that, yeah. EP and Pat actually would probably be a lot of fun. Maybe EP could get Pat back on the podcast another time. That would be funny. So something like that would be a lot of fun. All right, gentlemen, I've taken up enough of your time. Enjoy your Rosalitas. Am I calling it the right thing? Rositas. Oh my God, I added words. Maybe for now on we'll call it a Rosalita just because it's fun. More fun. Anyway, enjoy your cocktails, gentlemen. Enjoy your weekend. Fall weather, football. You don't have to worry about me talking about baseball anymore. So, at least not until February. Cheers, gentlemen, to another week. I'll talk to you next time.